So for the services that are critical in nature, right, like that could lead to some sort of financial abuse, for example, your credit rating agency accounts, your bank accounts, your social security account, any kind of shopping websites where you have your banking information stored, like Amazon. I would strongly encourage you to enable, if available, multi-factor authentication. And should you not have the ability to use multi-factor authentication with those websites, make sure that your password is extra long to protect it. Next slide. Like Veena talked about, phishing scams is a big problem. Phishing emails is the #1 threat and attack vector in the world. Almost 2/3 of all cybersecurity incidents are tied to phishing emails. So you want to be extra suspicious when you receive an email, especially if it's an email that from somebody you don't know, if it's an email that you don't expect, if it's an email that promises you something like free gift cards or free free access to some TV subscription service, etc. Things like these are used to lure you into clicking on a malicious link that is embedded in the email and then either steals your information or downloads malicious software on your computer or your iPhone and your iPad. So be extra cautious for phishing. And Veena is going to talk a little bit more about how you can detect phishing emails. Keep your software updated. This is really an easy one. Software has defects, and these defects can often lead to security vulnerabilities in your software that a threat actor can exploit to gain access to your devices. How can you combat that? By basically turning on auto updates on all of your devices, like your phone, your iPad, your computer. That way you don't have to worry about it. Your software just updates your operating system, your applications like Office or Adobe, Acrobat Reader, they all update automatically and you don't have to worry about it. Really important to keep your software updated. Secure your home Wi-Fi. We all have home Wi-Fi, right? Like when you get internet now from AT&T or Comcast, it comes with a Wi-Fi router and it's very convenient. However, threat actors can use that. For example, there's a technique called war driving, where threat actors drive with cars that are equipped with antennas through the neighborhood, and they pick up Wi-Fi networks. And so they can use those Wi-Fi networks to gain access to your computers and devices, either by cracking a easy-to-crack password, or they also can use information in the Wi-Fi network, right, to their advantage. So, for example, it's not a good practice to name your home Wi-Fi Groschi 1, for example, to use my last name. You would want to use something like Network 1 or Home 1 or something like that, something that doesn't give any information about you away. And then at the same time, you want to use very strong passwords, 12 or more characters, uppercase, lowercase, special characters and numbers included, to make sure that threat actors cannot hack into your Wi-Fi network. Limit what you share on social media. Social media is very popular. We all use it. As a matter of fact, this particular webinar is streamed on Facebook, right? And everything you post on social media, you have to assume that it is publicly available one way or another. Even if you lock down your Facebook account, threat actors have ways and means to get to this. So you want to be careful about what you're sharing. I mean, there are examples where people were posting their college degree results, right? And they held up their college degree with all the information on it and Facebook, right? And well, a threat actor can use artificial intelligence that kind of just searches automatically by itself, Facebook and all those other social media sites for information that is relevant to them, and then can use that information to build a profile about you, and then target you with specific, text messages and emails and phone calls, right? So what you post on social media is really something that you have to assume it's going to get out there. And a threat actor, if they target you, can use it against you. Back up your data, right? Sounds like a no-brainer. Back up your data. Should the worst thing happen, right? You don't want to panic and think about all the data that you lost, all the pictures of your friends and family and any kind of important documents that you have stored on your computer or your phone, etc. You want to make sure that your data is backed up and you can recover it. Apple, for example, and Android for that matter, right? They have built-in backup services, right, that you can subscribe to for not a whole lot of money per month that auto backs up all the information on your phone and tablets. And then if you have a Windows computer, right, you can do the same thing. There's often these backup services are built into the antivirus software. Vendors like McAfee or Norton, they offer it as part of their packages. So back up your data, give yourself peace of mind. Think before you download. Threat actors are very smart. They know that people like free software, so they often publish links that kind of look like the real thing. And it kind of lures you into downloading, software like a PDF reader, for example. Well, and then guess what? That PDF reader that you just installed includes malware that they then use to spy on you and steal your data. So really, stay away from freeware, stay away from shareware. A lot of those have various forms of malware embedded in them. Only go to trusted sources. Don't download from some software repository, right? Like Google is really bad, unfortunately, to kind of like not publish the official links, when you search for stuff. So really be careful of what you download and only use public, official sources. And then be careful when using public Wi-Fi. I know it's super convenient, right, to go and sit at Starbucks and fire up your laptop and connect to Wi-Fi, surf the internet, or sit in the airport when you're waiting for the airplane and connect to the airport Wi-Fi. Super convenient. The problem with that is when you join that Wi-Fi network, your computer is now accessible by anybody else who is on that network. And they can then use weaknesses, right, in your computer software, like security vulnerabilities, to gain access to your computer, for example. Also, in certain scenarios, they can actually intercept the traffic from your device and basically then decrypt it over time and gain access to the information. So you can avoid this by two ways, right? Like either if it's a device that has cellular network, right? Don't join the public Wi-Fi, use your cellular network because that is secure. Or what you can do is you can also purchase a virtual private network application, which basically creates this private network that connects you, from your device to the internet, and basically does not, by using that virtual private network, threat actors or bad guys, right, that are trying to get attack your computer cannot get access to your computer because it's isolated in that private network. Next slide. So I'm going to hand it over now to Veena. She's going to give you some really good detailed examples about how to detect phishing emails. Veena?
Thank you, Gordon. So as you can see, this is an example of Walgreens. Let's assume like you are a customer of Walgreens. Number one, are you expecting an email from Walgreens? That's the number one thing that you got to think of. As you can see in this slide, you can see that it says, is it a known source or is it an unknown source? Is that source is one that you're expecting an email from? That's what you got to watch out for. Be cautious. The next, if you're not expecting the email, then do not click on it. Then look at the hyperlinks. What you can do is slowly using your mouse, hover over the link. The link will tell you, you can easily figure out if that's a common link that you visit or the usual link that you visit, or is the link too long and it looks like a fake one. And then the next is unusual business hours. You can see here, like, of course, are they going to mention, are they working like 7 days a week, or are they working like 24/7? You know which, in this situation, you know which pharmacies work all day, which pharmacies don't. So you know the information more than anyone. So use the information that you know to validate the email. The next is look at the spelling. For example, in some situation in the emails, they might have spelled employee with an extra E, or employee with an extra O, or sometimes the employee, the O might be a number 0. And that's how the bad actor gets you. It might seem real, and with the AI age, as Gordon pointed out, it might also seem very real, closer to the one that you get. Always think whether you're expecting an email. Always read the email. Are there any spelling mistakes? Trust you and check if the sentences have good grammar. And then hover over the hyperlinks. Last but not the least, this is something that is latest, that comes in few emails, which is the QR code. Everywhere we go, we have a QR code, and that's an easy way for us to scan it and go to the website. Each QR code has an embedded web link in it. And bad actors in that QR code embed the web link with application code that could be executed, and that sometimes gets all the information from your website and from your computer. So this is the way that you can figure out whether email is real or not. And I repeat, number one, is it from a known source? Look through the email, go through the spelling, go through the grammar, and go through the hyperlinks and see, trust yourself, and know that whether you're expecting the email or not. Next, I'm going to go over a website. How to figure out if a website is a fake website and a true website. As we have pointed out earlier, bad actors create a fake website with a similar design, look, and feel. We have to trust ourselves and ensure we use some pointers to figure out whether it's real or fake. The one thing that you can check in a website is, obviously, start off. If it has a spelling mistake, then that's not your site. Google is never spelled with an extra O. So obvious thing, trust your obvious thing that you know. Check for spelling, check for grammar, check if it's a .com. Should it be a .com? Should it be a .org? Or should it be a student organization? Check at what it ends with. And then one important thing to note, to check if your website is secure or not. HTTP. What is HTTP? All your websites starts with a HTTP or a HTTPS. HTTP is nothing but a hypertext protocol. It's kind of a communication protocol which communicates between the website and your web server. It communicates whatever data you put in, you transfer between two mediums. Now, whatever data is exchanged between the two mediums is in clear text. HTTP, the data is shared between two mediums, is in clear text. What you have to watch out for is, does the HTTP have a S? S means secure. HTTPS is secure. What they do in the backend is, every website which has a S is secured by a certificate, which is like a policy which secures a website with all kind of protection, protects your data that cannot be intercepted or read by any bad actor. So as I said, keep in mind, look for spelling mistake. Ensure that site is the site that you usually visit. If the look and feel is changed, that's not your site. And last but not the least, make sure the site you visit is HTTPS, which HTTP secure. Now, I'm going to pass it to Gordon to talk more about the cybersecurity protocols. Gordon?
Thank you, Veena. And just to add to what Veena just talked about, we are, and Veena mentioned it in the beginning, we live in the age of artificial intelligence. And so, when we think about these attacks against us, right, like they're going to become more and more sophisticated. We have now heard of and seen reports of people impersonating people For example, we found an AI solution that allows us to copy the voice of a prominent executive of Texas Children's within 10 minutes of work, basically, in a YouTube clip. So AI is going to further make it harder to really dissect what is real and what is fake. And there are really no good defense mechanisms right now out there. So when you go to social media and you see pictures or like little video clips about things that supposedly happened somewhere, always be on your guard, because you don't know if this video was manipulated or the picture was manipulated with AI to make it basically look completely different, or even was generated by AI and never existed in the first place. But what to do when you got breached, right? Like, so you fell victim to a phishing attack or identity theft. So what can you do after the incident? If you fell victim to a phishing attack, do not engage with the threat actor, right? Like, certainly don't engage in some sort of email conversation with the threat actor. They're just going to use that to nickel and dime you to really kind of squeeze more money out of you. Obviously, be leery that if you already just fell victim to a phishing attack, they're going to try to lure you into more attacks in the future, right? So there's often scenarios where retargeting happens, right? So somebody or some organization got hacked, and then they get hacked again a few months later, right? So once this happened to you, be extra vigilant, right? If the phishing attempt involved some sort of financial loss, right, then definitely connect with the police, the FBI, the FTC, etc. If it's happening in your home, right, and you should let your IT team at your work, right, like know as well. Often, right, like in the case of Texas Children's, our employees use their personal devices to access resources related to Texas Children. So if their computer gets compromised, it could then translate into a compromise of Texas Children's. So if you get compromised, it's definitely a good idea to let your IT team know. Obviously, change your passwords, right? That is true for any kind of compromise. Immediately go out there, change all of your passwords. You have to assume the threat actor got access to some of them, even all of them, and you don't know which one they were able to gain the information for. So you have no choice then to literally reset all of your passwords. If your computer got infected by malware, right, like immediately disconnect from the internet. Use the antivirus software, right, to scan and remove the malware. McAfee, Norton, Microsoft Defender, right? Like if you have Windows 11 is a pretty decent product. Now, in some cases, the malware is embedded so deep into the device that you cannot actually remove it, at which point you really have no choice than to completely restore and rebuild the device from scratch. And this is true for phones, tablets, and computers. Data breach, right? So if your data was, stolen, right? And identity theft and data breach are going often hand in hand, right? Again, immediately change your passwords. You want to make sure that the threat actor cannot re-access, right, the breached services. You want to monitor your bank accounts, your credit cards, your credit ratings, right? For any kind of financial suspicious activity. Make sure that you have two-factor authentication on all of your accounts. And then obviously you want to let other people know, right, like that are depending on you or connected to you, that your data was breached, right? So if you think about it, if a threat actor gains access, to my wife's Facebook account, for example, right, they would then be able to get information about other people, right? And then they could use that information to attack those other people